Welcome to another live stream, guys. Bitcoin is at a very dangerous point and is facing some very nasty downside price action if things do not change soon, especially when looking at the weekly chart, you guys. I've been warning about some of these weekly levels for a while now, and unfortunately, things just don't look any better with more time passing. I am very happy to have this all invalidated in the near future, but so far, it is what it is. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that there isn't opportunity in the markets. If we start this nasty downtrend that I'm afraid may be in the process of starting, I will continue shorting this market. And of course, I will also have my eye on a handful of altcoins looking for trade opportunities there in both directions. One that I've been mentioning recently was Near, and I actually talked about this one in my private Telegram channel, you guys. This bounce from the STUBER fib, I actually had it laid out in advance, and we got the same trade set up twice, actually, just to show you that basically I pointed out this Fibonacci pocket. We ended up getting down there, ended up hitting the second take profit a couple of times there for beautiful returns. So yeah, guys, for those of you who are interested in just seeing more examples of my personal trade strategies, how I look at market structure, how I pull fibs, more of my thoughts on the markets in general, do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description down below. But yeah, guys, Bitcoin, especially on the weekly, I have very large concerns, you guys. I know I mentioned this in the last couple of videos, but things just are not looking any better ever since we lost this order block, respected that old support as resistance for 3 entire weeks. And now we are actually pulling away from that, getting not so much testing it anymore, but we actually got a little rejection there. Now, on top of that, the unfortunate part about the rejection of my red block here is that we had potential support, right? As far as the trend goes on the weekly chart here, if we were just looking at candle bodies, for example, actually wicks as well, but candle bodies, it's more noticeable. We had this high and we set our highest ever candle bodies after that. So obviously higher. That would then confirm that we have a higher low on the trend. I was really hoping to see that support hold, but unfortunately that order block turned into a breaker block, pushed us down through that support. And not only that horizontal support, but also this diagonal support level that or trend line that I've been mentioning. And I know not everyone likes diagonal trend lines, but guys, this is a very well-respected one. We have 3 exact touch points there. We even got a 4th one here and then closing candle bodies below that. Now, this is a very large concern of mine, because if I wanted to do a quick bias check and invert the chart, how do you feel about it at this point? Because I myself, I would be looking at this quite bullishly, that it looks like we are breaking a very nasty downtrend and starting to, break lower highs, breaking diagonal, just starting to staircase a little bit higher. And yeah, unfortunately, when we put it back to reality, that is the exact opposite. We're losing an uptrend and we are starting to basically staircase lower a little bit. So not saying that all hope is lost. I'm not saying that we have to go into a bear market by any means. I would be very pumped to see that the bulls would come back. Let's say, you know what, this weekly candle still has 5 days left. If we could end up just getting a bunch of follow through to the upside and reclaim that support and start staircasing higher again, at that point, I'm more open to the idea of going for that extended bull run, going into that parabolic conditions that everybody is talking about on social media. But you know what? It is what it is. And I would rather trade the chart that's there rather than the chart that I hope is there in the next month or two. So far, just, how we lost this important support level and how well we're respecting it, even with the, with the little pump that we had recently, that little bounce that we got with the news of stimulus packages in America. Notice that, yeah, we got a little bounce from that and everyone was claiming, okay, final shakeout's over, the bottom is in. But notice that we are really just respecting old support as new resistance at this point. And obviously that can change at any time, but it is what it is. And so far, that is what we are seeing there. Bringing up the 4-hour chart as well, you guys know that I mentioned this bearish STUBER, the fact that we had this low, we have a lower low here, that confirms this as our lower high. The highest point between our low and our lower low on this trend is up here at around 116.4 thousand US dollars. That is the lower high on my 4-hour trend. So pulling a fib from there, You can see that resistance basically starts around 112.6 thousand US dollars. And that could run up all the way to getting some sort of a liquidity grab, a swing fail, a fake out above this downtrend resistance, whatever. Goes up to about 119,000. And if I bring up the liquidations indicator to see where our liquidity pockets are, notice that, yeah, there is some even higher than that go all the way up towards our all-time highs. But the real thick stuff, the real juicy liquidity basically goes up to that level. And that's basically this whole pocket here. There's a lot of liquidations in there. So, you know, I don't want to say all hope is lost. I'm not saying that we have to go straight to the downside. There is, you know, the fact that there's liquidity to the upside. Yeah, we could absolutely get a bounce yet. Understand that at this point, as far as liquidity goes, unfortunately, we've also created some liquidations to the downside as well, much like what we did back here, where I was saying, you know, it made sense. There was this has changed because as the price changes, the indicator is going to change as well, and just to refresh itself. But there used to be a bunch of liquidations pointed out up here. And I was saying, yeah, it was possible that we go up there. However, we were starting to print liquidations to the downside as well, and that's what we're starting to see again. So really, it's dangerous no matter how you look at it, because whichever way the market makers decide to push this thing, there is liquidity to either side right now. And unfortunately, the trend is to the downside. So I know that as soon as we get a few hours of green price action, that social media will tell you the bottom is in, the final shakeout is over. There is literally nothing on this chart suggesting that the bottom has to be in. We have a low and we have a lower low with a confirmed lower high. We have a confirmed downtrend, and people are celebrating that the bottom is in. If anything, I would say, you know, yeah, it's possible we bounce, but if the bears are going to remain in full control, I would start to be expecting some sort of a rejection when we get up towards 112.6K. And that's just the start of that bigger resistance, right? I mean, we have a whole bunch of work we got to do before we even get up to those levels. Like, let's just say, for example, looking at the 1 hour chart right now, you guys, sorry, if any of my charts are messy, it's because I already did this live stream once, but it never ended up streaming properly to YouTube. So those of you guys who do appreciate the fact that we got these live streams going and just my level-headed approach on the markets in general, do yourselves a favor. Well, actually, do me a favor, sorry, and hit that thumbs up button. And those of you new to this channel, do me a favor and subscribe as well, because you don't want to miss these live streams. We've been very accurate about, you know, very realistic about market expectations on the last major price reversals, basically. And right now, unfortunately, what happened is we have lost the uptrend that we had on the 1 hour. So although I was expecting a little bit higher targets, you guys know I was really hoping to get up to these levels. But on the 1 hour, we actually lost structure a little bit early here, because here we would have had our high and we set a higher high here. That confirmed this as our higher low, and we broke this, right? We got our bearish signal right here that the price broke. Now, quite often you'll get some sort of a bounce and you'll get the Moon Boys FOMOing back in at the resistance retest. But also right now, we just have a downtrend that just decided to start. And yeah, even if we get a bounce now, we have potential resistance up ahead. But so far, since we lost this level, we set this lower low here. That confirmed this basically as our bearish pivot on the swing. And since then, we've actually set another lower low. So that confirms this as my lower high on the 1 hour trend. And that's about 104.7 thousand US dollars is that level. So basically, the bulls have a lot of work to do, right? To have any hopes of a recovery, we need to at least break the micro downtrend that we have on the go here. So unfortunately, it is what it is at this point. Even if we end up reclaiming that, I mean, at that point, I would be interested in looking for some sort of a pullback to stab at some longs, getting even some sort of a scalp, and then hoping the rest continues as a breakout kind of a thing. But even if we do get that bounce, just understand that we did start a downtrend on the 1 hour here. So we would have potential resistance stepping in again at around 106.4 thousand if we get that bounce, right? Just putting that on your radar, just because, like I said, this structure up here, this is very different than, you know, even this, right? This wasn't even considered a downtrend to me, because we never took out a higher low on that trend, right? The fact that basically, if you wanted to look at this being the immediate trend and say that basically here we had a low, lower low, lower high, we ended up breaking that. And yeah, we end up pulling back. Yeah, we lost this kind of structure, but that's not a confirmed higher low to me because we never ended up pushing above our high here, right? So nothing was confirming a higher low. In fact, it would have just been, this still would have been my pivotal point after we broke that. Then obviously, yeah, as we set another higher high, then we have a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. And like I said, we have lost that swing. The swing is now to the downside on the 1 hour until we basically change the market structure. So it is what it is. Let me know in the chat how you guys are feeling about the market. It looks like things are working this time. It looks like my audio and visual is working. So thumbs up, you guys, if you do appreciate these videos. And like I said, subscribe if you have not to this channel. I am going to keep it a little bit shorter today because, well, for one, I'm running out of time. I'm supposed to meet up with a buddy here in a bit. And like I said, I already did the live stream once. It's just unfortunately YouTube kind of held out on us there. But yeah, guys, basically the way I'm looking at things right now, just be careful because no matter how you look at it, we have a downtrend going on. Even with Bitcoin dominance, it really looks like it could end up dropping off a cliff here. The MDX Trendmaster is warning we got a lower sell signal on the 1 hour. I love to see that. I would love to see this end up dumping to the downside because that would be a very good sign for altcoins, in my opinion. But it hasn't really started to do that yet. And there's still a lot of weakness showing in some altcoins. I mean, looking at Ethereum on the 1 hour, very much the same thing like what we had on Bitcoin. A little bit different because technically this was not the confirmed higher low because this was not a higher high, right? Like what I was talking about before. But technically Ethereum actually lost the uptrend earlier because if we were really microanalyzing, whether you want to say this is your high, whatever, we continued going higher. No matter how you look at that, we ended up losing that uptrend. And then notice what happens, much like what I was pointing out for a potential on a Bitcoin 1 hour pullback rejection kind of a thing, is if we then chase the price with the fibs, right? We eventually come back, get that STUBER fib retest rejection where a lot of people start FOMOing into resistance again, but understand we lost that uptrend. So after losing that uptrend, it's very natural to get some sort of a reaction. But the retest is the bearish point, right? It's basically, if we want to look at it this way, a lot of people would start shorting here. And depending how the chart structure is showing on the shorter time frame, it's absolutely possible, right? Like I said, Bitcoin's in a nice little downtrend on the 1 hour, for example. But just understand, very natural to get that pullback like that. So a safer approach is considering that, hey, this is my bearish signal, but that doesn't necessarily mean short right now, right? That's the whole premise of these STUBER fib setups is I'd rather wait for that structure break followed by the pullback. And Ethereum has already had that, right? Bitcoin has not had that yet, as we set that higher high and then pulled back here, or drew down, however you want to put it. But yeah, Ethereum already had that. So Ethereum, as far as this little downtrend goes, I mean, yeah, there is this micro downtrend where if we break above 3,500, basically, we could see a nice little bounce. But again, there is a downtrend. We still have resistance up ahead if we start climbing back up towards resistance of the bigger range. Solana as well looks very similar to Bitcoin, actually. Notice that we had this high, we had our higher high, we have our confirmed higher low, and we lost that. And then we've just been trending to the downside, right? So at this point for Solana on the 1 hour swing, basically the confirmed lower high on the 1 hour swing is at about $163.20. So on the larger time frames, yeah, we're at potential support, you know, we're getting to those STUBER fibs and that sort of thing, but there is a lot of weakness in the charts, you guys, and that goes for altcoins, Bitcoins, everything. I would love to see some bounces soon. Basically, I want to see the bulls start stepping in and proving that they can fight this downtrend because, like I said, there is some nasty warning signs. Solana on the 4 hour. I mean, I was talking about this for quite a while, you guys, the fact that we had lower trending sell signals. I always take that on the MDX Trendmaster as a very big warning. And, you know, we saw it on Ethereum. We saw it on Solana. Hype, we have the same thing, right? We've seen some very big corrections off this, and we still have those sell signals trending to the downside. Even though we've got some nice reactions, we've got some nice bounces, the 4-hour trends actually haven't been broken yet. So the bulls just definitely have some work to do at this point, basically. But guys, I want to thank you so much for being here with me, and sorry about the streams giving us grief there. So I really appreciate you guys being here with me. If you stuck through, I know I never got started as early as I said because we were having technical issues there, but looks like we got it all sorted. So thumbs up if you do appreciate these live streams. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. And like I said, if you want to see more examples of how I am pulling Fibonacci's, how I'm looking at market structure, some of my personal trade strategies, some of my personal trade entries, and all that sort of stuff, just looking at market structure for what it is, do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description down below. That will basically get you signed up under me for BloFin, a no KYC exchange where I do most of my trading at. They are constantly giving my followers special promos and that sort of stuff. So they are currently running this deposit bonus promo for you guys until November 18th. So you got another week there. And yeah, basically just a little list according to Grok of a few things that are very important to me when choosing where I'm doing my trading. And just another reason why I do remain partnered with BloFin and why I do most of my trading there. So yeah, and obviously signing up, taking advantage of these deposit bonuses, you also get access into my private Telegram channel, you guys. So other than that, guys, just be safe out there. These markets have been extremely volatile recently. Understand that, you know, it's very possible. Just always understand whenever you're looking at a trade setup opportunity, just always make sure that you can basically, you know, where your entries are, where your take profits are, where your invalidations are, all those types of things. Because if you don't have those things laid out, you don't have an actual setup. One last thing I did want to talk about, I almost forgot about here, is the retail long and short. I know a lot of people like this indicator recently as well. Just notice that as we hit resistance and then we ended up losing that higher low on the trend, notice that retail is once again trying to long the pullback, right? So as long as retail is starting to build long positions, that's where they are basically used as fuel for the fire. And, you know, those liquidations, that liquidity is being used to push the price to the downside. So if we see retail start stepping in with shorts heavily again, as we trade closer to support, basically, if we trade to support and we see retail FOMOing short into that support, panic selling, all that sort of good stuff, then I would expect some sort of a bounce. But if they continue to try and long this correction here, then like I said, that's just fuel to the fire and we could continue trending to the downside. So anyways, my friends, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So one last time, if you could do me a favor, if you appreciate these live streams, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And like I said, you want to see more examples, how I pull fibs, how I look at market structure, just my overall thoughts on the markets in general. Do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code, get in my Telegram channel. With that, thank you so much for being here with me once again, my friends, and stay safe out there, my friends. Peace.